never get arrested. Sitting on a poor man's throne, which means my beloved never has to worry. I will never be behind bars because I'm sitting on that poor man's throne every day here in the studio, engaging in conversation with you. And today, the musical element we add to our conversations on All Request Friday, songs about money. Why not? We had a federal budget released this week. No big deal, just a $78 billion deficit. Fall fiscal update from the province yesterday. Deficits, who cares about deficits? It's not our money. We'll just keep spending and borrowing and increase the largest subnational debt in the world. Don't worry about it, as my good friend Mike the Moose Reeves would say. You never have to worry about it. So money is the theme on our All Request Friday today. And I thought, what better place to start than with Kitchener's own, formed back about 60 years ago, Copper Penny, and sitting on a poor man's throne. My choice for a money song today. And wouldn't you know, in a beautiful twist of fate, money is featured in two stories I want to talk to you about as we get the show underway today. But even before that, before I get into the dollars and cents of it all, okay? Because you know I love me some numbers. I love the dollars and the cents. I like common sense the most. I don't get a lot of that these days, let me tell you. But I like it. I like it a lot. I have to bring this one up. And I know on Friday, I make an effort. I do. I hope you've noticed the effort. That sounds like I'm asking for congratulations for the effort. You know what? The effort, Farwell, matters less than the result. You got to deliver, pal. So I'm just having a little self-help talk with myself. But I have to go down this path, and it's a slightly cranky path. But I got to know, like, honest to goodness gracious, if you own a leaf blower, do you have a conscience at all? I'm asking the question honestly. If you own a leaf blower, do you have a conscience at all? Our good friend Trish Mumby, small business consultant who participates in our Friday 4 roundtables here on the show. You might have noticed Trish's absence over the last many times that her name came up in our Friday 4 roundtable cycle because she's off traveling the world. And let me tell you, I mean the world. She's having a grand old time. Been following along on social media, and she tagged me on a post the other day from New Zealand where Trish wrote that listening to local radio in New Zealand, she found that they are considering a ban on fireworks and leaf blowers, which means I would fit right in to a radio program in New Zealand. Given the climate, I mean, I'd consider it. It would take a lot to pry me out of my hometown here, but I would consider it. Nonetheless, leaf blowers are the bane of my existence, and I bring them up today because of two recent walks with Rosie the pandemic pup a few nights ago. And believe you me, I can understand what this gentleman was trying to do. Like, I am as particular as they come. I like things to be in a certain way. Order brings me great comfort. He had his leaf blower out, blowing the leaves out of his garden. There weren't that many leaves in there, but if you haven't heard me say this before when I talk about curbside loose leaf collection in this town, you can just leave the leaves. Like, we don't need to do what we do, putting them on the curb and letting the big machinery come by and pick them up for us. We can just leave the leaves where they are. They're actually quite good for the soil. In your gardens, even better. Talk to the green thumbs. They'll tell you. This guy's got a few leaves in his garden, and he's using his leaf blower to blow the leaves out of the garden. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you might as well get down on hands and knees and pick every individual leaf out. Again, I can appreciate the desire for that level of cleanliness, if you will. I don't want any leaves anywhere. But my goodness, the leaf blower was out, getting them out of the garden. And then last night, this is the one that got me. It's why I bring it up this morning. I'm walking Rosie the pandemic pup after dinner. So, obviously, this time of year, pitch black out there. And I'm coming home, and there's this guy on my street with his leaf blower out, blowing around the leaves. And so I had to check my phone because it's pitch black out. I wanted to see, what time is it? 7:23 p.m. Now, I'll grant you, if it was August, I mean, you might mow your lawn at 7:23. It just felt all that much more egregious because it was dark. Like, what are you doing with your leaf blower in the dark other than blowing the leaves off your lawn into a pile on the road? I got a little hint for you here, okay? Our ancestors, smart people, innovative people, at one time in our past, they, for us, invented the rake. You know what still works to clean up leaves? A rake. Come on with your coming on. Leaf blowers are, whoever invented the leaf blower should be sentenced to a lifetime of listening to the leaf blower noise. This is a noise that we never needed in our lives. Rakes work fine. Go see my buddy Brad at Swanson's Home Hardware Building Center on Park Street in Kitchener. He'll fix you up with a rake. He'll probably fix you up with a leaf blower, too, if you want. But I recommend the rake, damn it. Pardon my French. Oh, the leaf blower needs to go away. Okay, I got that out of the way. I guess, you know what? Before I get into the money, Doug is on the phone. I like this to be an open forum. It can't just be a one-way discussion. Doug, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. I got two issues on leaves.
Okay.
The first one, I do own a leaf blower.
Shame on you.
Although, no, not really. I have a bad back and I cannot rake leaves.
Hire a kid, Doug. There's a kid in the neighborhood just begging for $10. Hire him. Give him a rake.
I've been trying to get him to come and do my snow.
Okay.
The second issue is raking leaves onto the road. A couple of weeks back, I had the city come in and remove a tree on my boulevard because it wasn't growing properly. So they come in, they cut the tree down, but it had already dropped all its leaves. And they come in with the wood chipper. Guess what the city guys did with the leaves?
Left them on the road.
They raked them onto the road for me.
Yeah, because the city's going to come by and collect them. It's a beautiful thing, except it's a dumb thing.
It's a make-work project.
Dougie, you know what's what. Funny thing about that curbside leaf collection, the signs in my neighborhood say this coming week, starting Monday, November the 10th, that's our zone. I'm walking last night with Rosie the pandemic pup. I'm looking at the trees. Guess where all the leaves are? They're still on the trees. They ain't going to be... I'll tell you what, these leaves are not going to magically fall today to allow people the time this weekend to rake to the curbside for collection next week. I promise you that. The leaves, truly, I mean, there's some down, but the trees are quite full still in my neighborhood where curbside leaf collection starts next week. All right, moving on. The theme of the day through our All Request Friday and more is money. Money, 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 money. And you may have heard yesterday that the Ontario government is going to move ahead with a feasibility study for the tunnel under the 401. Listen, I want to be clear about this, okay? I want less congestion on the highway as much as anybody. I would really like to be able to make it into downtown Toronto in 90 minutes or so. I think that would be lovely. I know, aside from my personal preferences, it's important to our economy. There are billions of dollars being lost because we can't move stuff across the 401. I get it. I want the congestion relieved as much as anybody. But surely to goodness, we understand that putting 2 lanes under the highway, 2 lanes under the highway, is not going to help all of the traffic that is currently on the highway. We know this. It's just, remember what I said earlier about common sense, my favorite kind of sense? We know that the tunnel will not do anything to relieve congestion. And yet, look, dream about it all you want. Talk to your friends about it over a beer or a whiskey. Have a grand old time. Oh, you know what would really work? Oh, we should build a tunnel. I wanted to build this tunnel. But now you're spending $9.1 million of taxpayer money, my money, on a feasibility study for a project that should never even be considered outside of a late night at the bar. Come on. This is an egregious waste, complete and utter waste of taxpayer money. $9.1 million for the feasibility study. Listen, I have no doubt that it would be feasible from an engineering perspective to do this. That doesn't mean we should do it. But now we're just going to fritter away $9.1 million just on a study for a project that should never even get off the books. Ridiculous. That's your money being spent by your provincial government. And you probably heard this morning on All News Mornings here on 570 News Radio about the raises that Waterloo Council is considering voting for themselves. Oh, wouldn't you like to just vote your own raise? Now, there's an important point in all of this. Yes, this council will vote on whether or not to increase salaries across the board, councillors and the mayor. However, and this is important and good on Waterloo Council for doing it this way, it does not take effect immediately. It would take effect for the next term of council. So don't get upset with Waterloo Council for feathering their own nest. They're putting this in place for the next term of council. Now, they might get reelected, but they're still going to come to you next year, ask for your vote, and if you are upset at these increases, you might not vote them back in. That's completely up to you. But this is sort of right-sizing the salary, if you will, for the next council. So that's an important consideration here, and good on Waterloo Council for doing it that way. What I would prefer happens here is that we have some sort of ad hoc advisory committee to make the decision, because I just don't think it's good optics for council to be voting on a raise for itself. My suggestion to any council considering this would be to do it that way, but that's really just optics, because the staff report's going to be the staff report, and whether it's a committee that decides on this or councillors that decide on this, meh. It's interesting that this news comes this morning as my social media timeline blew up yesterday with the 35% raise that London city councillors had just voted for themselves. Also to take effect, by the way, in the next term of council. Well, look at the numbers here for Waterloo. The mayor's salary, if this report is approved and councillors vote themselves a raise, would go from about $117,000 to $132,000. That's about a 15% increase on the mayor's salary, and the councillor's salary from $44,000 to about $58,000, which is 30+%, coming up on 35% there. Well, if my social media timeline blew up yesterday with London's 35% increase, I wonder how we're going to feel about the 35% increase. I have long stated that the municipal councillor's quote-unquote part-time job is anything but. There's a lot more involved than meets the eye. They certainly would put in more than the 20 hours, if you will, a week for a part-time job. That being said, $58,000 for a part-time job is a greater salary than many of us make for full-time work right now. And I wonder about the optics of that. I also wonder about the optics of 15 to 30+% increases. Look, if we've fallen behind and we have to do this big catch-up, why have we not put something in place where there are regular increases, cost of living increases, whatever you want to do, to councillors' salaries, instead of trying to play catch-up at 30 plus or 15% at one time? Raise your hand, private sector, if you have received anything close to a 15 or 30+% raise in the last 10 years. Does anybody have their hand up yet? Optics are not good on this. And those same people who have not had a raise like that, who make less with full-time work than a Waterloo councillor's salary would be for quote-unquote part-time work, those same people are going to be paying these salaries. I struggle with that, if I'm being honest with you, but good on Waterloo Council for doing this for the next term of council. If it really chafes your chaps and you don't like it, well, you've got options when the municipal election comes up next October. But at the very least, they're not feathering their own nests here. They're just looking at the next term of council, which is absolutely the way it should be done. All right, let's get to that Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning, the 7th of November. Number one, Statistics Canada says the economy added 67,000 jobs in October, which blows right past economists' expectations for a second month in a row. Those job gains concentrated in part-time work, while the private sector saw employment grow for the first time since June. Tariff-sensitive Ontario led job growth last month with 55,000 positions added, while the wholesale and retail trade sector and the transportation and warehousing industry drove employment gains nationally. Number two, with one hurdle behind it, the Liberal government's budget is staring down its next obstacle. The Bloc Québécois have a sub-amendment up for a vote today, calling for the budget to be rejected on the basis that it is, quote, harmful to Quebec. The opposition Conservatives tried a similar move yesterday, adding their own sub-amendment that suggested the government did not present an affordable budget. The government survived that vote, but if it fails today's block challenge, it will have lost the confidence of the House, which could trigger an election. Editor's note here from yours truly. We're not going to have an election, so don't worry about it. Number three on your Farwell Show 5 this morning. It's not yet winter on the calendar, but we are expecting snow this weekend, our first of the season. Sounds like Sunday will bring the most of it, with a system covering much of Ontario expected to leave behind several centimeters for us to shovel. Number four, Creators Waterloo Region hosting its Merry and Bright Craft Market tomorrow from 10 until 4 at the Conestoga Banquet Hall in Waterloo. The market will feature talented local artisans, raffle draws, a food truck, Santa's mailbox for letters, and a toy drive in support of Regional Police's Stuff a Cruiser campaign. Admission to the Merry and Bright Craft Market tomorrow from 10 until 4 at Conestoga Banquet Hall in Waterloo is free. And number five on your Farwell Show 5 this Friday morning. Tomorrow also marks the first annual Ayr Nutcracker Christmas Market from 2 until 7 p.m. at Knox Church in the beautiful village of Ayr. The market features local artisans, vendors, and free family activities for all ages, including holiday family photos. All proceeds will go to It Takes a Village Ayr, which is a local charity dedicated to supporting families and individuals in need. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you, Moose, our bus driver for the Kitchener Rangers. He's always there with words of encouragement.
Don't worry about it.
All right, Friday mornings, something else we do for a little bit of fun to start the show is the question. The big question today, the not $1 million question. See, we're keeping with the money theme. I can't give you $1 million if you get the answer to this question. However, I can give you praise for being a genius. You will have our undying admiration if you can answer the not $1 million question today. Here it is. 6% of Canadians think there are too many of these, but 39% say there aren't enough. Hint, don't say politicians. That's not the answer. 6% of Canadians say there are too many of these. 39% say there are not enough of these. What are these? We'll take your guesses right after this. Your not $1 million question on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
Let me tell you how it will be. There's one for you, 19 for me. 'Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man.
Oh, the tax man coming for you. George, Double O George, Farwell's Force member 00 in Cambridge. Wanted to hear the Beatles on this All Request Friday. Money Songs edition, the Taxman from the Beatles. Our first request from you. I started with Copper Penny and Sitting on a Poor Man's Throne. We're all going to remain at least as poor as we currently are, because I cannot give you $1 million if you can answer this question. But we have some fun taking guesses at the not $1 million question. 6% of Canadians think there are too many of these. 39% say there are not enough. What are they? We'll start with Bill. Bill, good morning. Do you know the answer?
I think I've got it here. It's one of two. It's either leaf blowers.
Bill, you're a funny guy. And let me tell you, 100% of us say there are too many of those.
Yeah. Or speed cameras in a 30-kilometer zone.
Bill, you know what? If I could award points for creativity, I would. In fact, I just did. Brilliant stuff. Yeah. Not the answer, but good guess.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah. You too. Bill is keeping up with the news of the day. Speed cameras. 6% say there are too many. 39% say not enough. Or leaf blowers. Love you, Bill. Great guesses. Not the answer. How about another Bill? Is your name actually another Bill or just Bill?
I'll go by either.
Okay, we'll go by another Bill today. Another Bill. What's your guess?
How about roundabouts?
Roundabouts. Another excellent guess, but not the answer we're looking for.
Okay.
Thanks, another Bill. Have a great day. 6% of Canadians say there are too many of these. 39% say there are not enough. We'll try Matt next on the not $1 million question. Morning, Matt.
Morning.
What's your guess?
Immigration levels.
You're also keeping up with the news. Not the answer we're looking for, but thank you for the guess. 6% of Canadians think there are too many immigrants. 39% say there are not enough. Not the answer we're looking for. Gary in Guelph, Farwell's Force member number 41. Good morning.
Good morning, buddy.
What's the answer?
I don't know the answer to the question, but just a funny thing quickly. I'm driving down Edinburgh, and there's one guy on one side of the street with more leaves than you can think of on his lawn, and he's blowing all the leaves out onto the busy road. And then there's a guy across the street with a rake and a brown bag and not a leaf on his lawn. So I can't make that stuff up, but I wish I could have taken a picture.
I wish you could have too, because one of those people is doing things the right way, and the other is. I was going to use my favorite term for people that frustrate me, but I'm not, because listen, leaf blowers exist. I wish the person that invented leaf blowers had never invented them, and I wish you wouldn't use them because they're redonkulous. See how I used the ridiculous word like the kids use it? Gary didn't even have a guess at our not $1 million question today. 6% of Canadians think there are too many of these. 39% say there are not enough. Give it some thought. We'll take more guesses after 9:45, and I promise the answer before 10. 6% of Canadians think there are too many of these. 39% say there are not enough. What are they? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Now that's what I call following the theme to the letter. All Request Friday this week. Theme is money. And that's the name of that song from Pink Floyd, by request from Mark on this All Request Friday Money Songs edition. We're making it Money Songs because money has kind of been an overriding theme this week, hasn't it? Federal budget released on Tuesday, the Fall Economic Statement from the province coming out yesterday. How do these documents impact our cities? I'm glad you asked, because Kitchener Mayor Barry Verbanovic joins the show this morning to discuss that very thing. And since the fall fiscal update from the province was the most recent yesterday afternoon with Finance Minister Peter Bethlen-Falvey, let's start there. Mayor Verbanovic, what did you hear in that economic statement from the province yesterday that you liked?
Yeah, certainly I think the plan to protect Ontario touched on a number of things that are relevant to the city, either directly or indirectly. One of the first ones that stood out to me was an additional investment of $100 million in the Ontario Together Trade Fund, which is to support small and medium-sized businesses and diversifying into new markets and so on. And all of that is partially and primarily actually in response to the Trump tariffs that the government is trying to support companies navigate through. The document also talked about advancing the construction of Highway 7 between Kitchener and Guelph, and we just heard this week from the MTO that they will be proceeding with the removal of the Frederick Street Bridge at the tail end of this year and moving forward with that project. And as you know, that's huge. For our community. It's been on the books probably as long as both of us have been alive, Mike. So that's a good thing. And then investing another $1.6 billion in the municipal housing infrastructure program, and that's one that's been highly oversubscribed. One that we actually would like to try to access ourselves, and it almost doubles the investment to now $4 billion in total. It was 2.4, I believe, up until now, and that complements the Building Faster Fund, which the city's been able to benefit from on a couple of occasions. And then lastly, for residents, the Ontario electricity rebate is going to increase, and that certainly will help with rising energy costs, which we know, many families are grappling with all sorts of expenses right now as they navigate through the economy.
You talk about Highway 7, Mayor Verbanovic, and I have to laugh because I've rolled my eyes many times over the decades, truly, that this has been on the books. And I have my doubts, and I've registered those before, but just when it comes to Highway 7, and also I want to lump into this all-day two-way GO Transit service or GO Train service, and there was a recent announcement that more weekend service was coming, or weekend service was going to start because we haven't had it before. And again, I registered some frustration with that. I don't think it's enough, fast enough, but just for those two pieces in general, the connections for trains between Waterloo Region and Toronto and this Highway 7 between Kitchener and Guelph, setting aside all of my frustrations and some others' frustrations with it, can you put into context for us how important these projects are for our community?
Listen, we know that both of these transportation links are vital in order to ensure that Kitchener and Waterloo Region are building a competitive economy going forward. And ultimately, these investments will help protect our jobs, create new jobs, and ensure that companies can continue to thrive. Highway 7 is really part of critical trade enabling infrastructure that'll help safeguards over $45 billion of Ontario's GDP that travels along that highway, and so that is extremely important. And then the link of GO Train, so that we can truly continue to bring to life the Waterloo Region Toronto Innovation Corridor is a key part of our innovation economy, and we want to see that continue to grow and thrive, both in terms of startups and scale-ups going forward. As a city, as you know, we invested with the provincial and federal governments in the health innovation arena that opened last year, and we continue to explore with the government ways to build on that investment. And having something like those transportation links in place is a big part of that.
Back to housing, because it's probably the issue of the day, and that additional $1.6 billion invested through the municipal housing infrastructure program that you mentioned. What does Kitchener have to do to benefit from some of that funding?
So listen, the Building Faster Fund obviously is purely based on builders and developers getting foundations in the ground, and we surpassed our goal the last 2 years. We know that we were one of only 11 Ontario municipalities, and in fact the largest one that did that. This year, a lot of folks are seeing challenging, and so I'm not sure if we're going to hit that goal, to be frank, but that's out of our control. We certainly are doing everything we can to help support builders and developers in moving these projects forward. But this other money, which is not attached to the BFF, Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program, and that additional $1.6 billion is application-based, and we'll be, certainly looking to access that. And then if I can make, the jump to what was announced 2 days earlier in the federal budget, there was a $51 billion over 10 years Building Communities Strong Fund that Minister Champagne announced in that budget. And there's a significant component that's focused around both supporting Build Canada Homes, their new housing agency, but as well as housing enabling infrastructure. And both of them, and this is where you have to give kudos to the federal and provincial and territorial governments working together, have committed to eliminating GSTs on first homes less than $1 million. And if you think about it, that's about $110,000, $120,000 on a new house, and so that should really help in terms of getting that end of the housing continuum going again.
You mentioned that federal budget, the $51 billion fund, and that caught my attention too, because it talked about transit projects, which I'm thinking of light rail phase 2. Obviously, it talked about healthcare infrastructure. We're trying to build a new hospital in this region. So it's been a big week from that federal budget on Tuesday to the fall economic statement from the province yesterday. Do you get the sense, Mayor Verbanovic, that upper levels of government are understanding the challenges that cities face today?
Listen, I think it's a message that certainly we've been working hard, both through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, to make sure that they understand. And I do think that they understand in a world of many competing interests, priorities, and needs. Particularly as, we've come out of COVID and we've now faced, this new economic environment because of, the relationship with our neighbors to the south. And, and both budgets really talked about the need to diversify our trade and economic interests going forward. We, historically, and it's nobody's fault, it was the lane of least resistance. They were our closest neighbor. It made sense. But the reality, and I compare this week, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, Mike, to not unlike when our community went through the challenge of BlackBerry. And one of the things we learned, BlackBerry was wonderful for our community. It put us on the global map. But when they got into their difficulties, we realized very quickly that, in the future, what we really needed to focus on was not having one big company with 20,000 employees, but maybe 10 successful companies with 2,000 employees each, so that if anybody, ever got into challenges, it wouldn't have as dramatic of an impact on the community. And I think the same it can be said here, that as a country, Canada needs to diversify, and both budgets and both governments have talked about that. So we're encouraged about that. From a purely municipal point of view, we think that what's not here, and definitely needs to be here, is the dialogue around creating a new fiscal framework, a new fiscal arrangement. And you've heard me talk about this, and other local government leaders talked about this the last number of years. This is really the time, as we talk about, reinventing ourselves. This is the time to also reinvent a relationship that goes back to 1867, and quite frankly, doesn't work in the 21st century in the same way.
Is that the biggest challenge facing a municipality today, this framework that just doesn't add up, if you will, anymore today?
Yeah, no, listen, there's obviously always a range of challenges that we're dealing with, but this is certainly a significant one, because municipalities are dealing with problems that they were, never meant to fund on property taxes, as an example. And there are also more complex problems that require a higher degree of collaboration and cooperation between the different orders of government. let's just look at supportive housing as an example. Municipalities, in Ontario's case at least, have to support the construction of them, have to support supportive housing, in neighborhoods and how that impacts neighborhoods. But we have to rely on the federal government to build it and the provincial government to fund it in terms of the wraparound supports. And so it requires a higher level of support and integration going forward. And if we're talking about remaking some of these other relationships, like with our neighbor to the south, this is also something that needs to be rebuilt so that we have more predictable and sustainable funding for a broad range of issues going forward.
Mayor Verbanovic, we always appreciate the time on the show. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thanks so much, Mike, for taking the time, because it is important that your listeners, understand these issues, because they are complex and they impact their day-to-day lives. It's
been a big week with these budgets and these economic statements, so I'm sure you're still digesting all of it.
Absolutely. A lot to read, that's for sure.
Thanks very much and enjoy your day.
Thanks, Mike.
Kitchener Mayor Barry Verbanovic joining us with some reaction to the fall economic statement, the federal budget on Tuesday. There is some good news in there for cities, but when I look at these documents, I feel as though we are the child asking for an increase to our allowance, or just hoping that, or looking forward to the day of allowance, kind of looking forward to payday, isn't it? But we do need, and I feel like I'm screaming into the void here. Municipal councillors, mayors are advocating for it. The conversation is certainly out there. I just don't know yet that upper levels of government have allowed it to sink in. We do need this new fiscal arrangement that's been talked about. Municipalities are being asked to do more and more in terms of service providing without any increases in funding to help provide that service. It's true. I know it's frustrating when you hear property taxes go up and how expensive it's getting to be living around here. I'm living here with you and I feel it. Trust me. 36% on my municipal property taxes in the last 11 years. That's a lot. So I get it. But the reality is municipalities are being asked to do so much more than they ever used to do, and there is no corresponding increase to funding from upper levels of government. I would submit to you that if this federal government is interested in nation-building projects, the likes of which Mark Carney has been talking about, our Prime Minister, you best take a look at the cities upon which you're building this nation, because if the foundation is shaky, you've got nothing to build upon. And the foundation is our cities. So we best be taking care of them before it's too late. I took a walk around the city of Flint, and I'm not trying to pick on an American city that has a tremendous manufacturing. It's the vehicle city in the United States, where it had a tremendous history in manufacturing of automobiles, great jobs, prosperous. And let me tell you, I mean, maybe it was just the area I was in when I was down there with the Kitchener Rangers not too long ago, but that city is in some kind of state, let me tell you. It's not a good one. And I worry about future Canadian cities if we don't get proper support from upper levels of government in this wonderful federation we have here in Canada. I digress just a little bit. Good to get Mayor Verbanovic on the phone this morning to react to those economic statements, the budget and the fall fiscal update yesterday from the province. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we can take more of your guesses to the not $1 million question if you think you know the answer. 6% of Canadians think there are too many of these, but 39% say there are not enough. What are these? I like Yuta's guess. Casinos. Interesting guess. Not the answer we're looking for. 6% say there are too many. 39% say there are not enough. John, jack wagons. Oh, John, I like your guess via email to Mike at 570news.com. There are definitely too many jack wagons. Believe you me, John. I like how you're paying attention, though. And Martin says 39% of people think we need more fans of the Ottawa Senators. Martin, don't ever email me again. You are going to jackwagon jail. I'll give you the answer before 10, but you can take another guess at our not $1 million question today. 6% of Canadians say there are too many of these. 39% say not enough. What are these? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. AC/DC and some money talk from Jim by request on this All Request Friday Money Songs edition. We're still looking for the answer to our not $1 million question today. 6% of Canadians think there are too many of these. 39% say not enough. Sam, Farwell's Force member number 103. Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you think the answer is?
I think the answer is police officers.
Oh, police officers. 6% think there are too many, 39% not enough. That's a really good guess. Not the answer we're looking for, but thanks for playing along.
No worries.
All right, Sam, great to hear from you today. I don't think we've heard from Farwell's Force member number 103 before since he was signed on. Attaboy, welcome to the show. Jersey Bill, good morning.
Yeah, well, it came to me, parliamentarians, or if not that, maybe local jurisdictions.
Also,
municipalities.
Also not the answer, Billy. Farwell's Force member number 12. Let me tell you about municipalities. There are too many of those, at least around here. I am one who believes in one level of local government. We've got 8 municipalities in the region of Waterloo. Come on with your coming on. Not the answer, though, that we were looking for. Is this Mark back on line 3 there? Oh, it's Adam. Okay, Mark was there. He disappeared. Adam is here. We're going to get one more guess. Good morning, Adam.
Hey, good morning. Is it doctors?
Doctors. Another very good guess. Not the answer we're looking for, but thanks for playing along.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks for the call. 6% of Canadians think there are too many of these. 39% say there are not enough. The answer, my friend, is not blowing in the wind. It is stat holidays. Remembrance Day coming up next Tuesday. Not a stat holiday here in Ontario, but 39% of Canadians think there are not enough stat holidays. And there you go, the answer to our not $1 million question this Friday morning on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
You never give me your money. You only give me your funny paper. And in the middle of negotiations, you break down. I never give you my number.
It is an all-request Friday Money Songs edition. There's a beauty that you don't hear every day. Getting into the deep cuts here for You Never Give Me Your Money. Those, of course, are the Beatles. It's by request from Mark on this all-request Friday Money Songs edition. Hey, Mark, we played your song, You Never Give Me Your Money, It's okay. It's not pay to play around here. We got in trouble with that in radio a long, long time ago. There is a gentleman doing something in this region tomorrow, and he is soliciting funds for his efforts. All of this, of course, will go to a good cause. And this is a pretty remarkable thing that our next guest is doing. Jovica Savic, Yahtzee Runs for Hope, joins the show. Jovica, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, Mike?
Well, I'm doing okay, but more importantly, how are you doing this morning?
Are you talking physically or mentally? Which one?
Well, it could be either. So let me set it up this week. Tomorrow is the day that you have pledged, and you pledged this many weeks ago now, but you're going to run the entire 51 kilometers around the region of Waterloo. So sure, mentally, physically, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. And actually, Mike, it's 51.9. You got to make sure you get the 9 in there because it's 519, right?
Attaboy. Well, let's call it 52 then, okay? I'm going to round up for you.
Sounds good. No, I'm doing pretty good. Honestly, I feel very, physically ready for it, and it's for a great cause. So I know that even that is going to push me across the line, and I won't be alone. I'm going to have about another 6 runners, I believe, doing the full thing with me, and a couple more joining us on a couple checkpoints around the city too.
Where did this idea come from for you? What inspired you to do the 519 tomorrow?
So it started a couple months ago when I started posting on Instagram quite a bit. I post running videos. My Instagram page is all about running and mindset and things like that. And I was on a morning run on a Saturday morning, and I ran past the Canadian flag, and something just kind of went off in my head, and I came back and I made this one little video for a minute and a half about how much Canada has meant to me and my family because we came here in 1998 as refugees, and how much Canada has helped us. So anyways, I put this video out there, and right now that video sits at almost 5 million views. So it went absolutely viral. So I said, and I also went from about 300 followers on Instagram to now over 13,000. So I said, well, I got to do something to give back, to Canada, to the community, and that's kind of where the idea stemmed from.
I want folks to find you on Instagram. It's Yahtzee Runs, YATZI Runs, Yahtzee Runs. Look them up on Instagram, because what I love about it, Jovica, is that it was a positive video that went viral. It wasn't something negative. 5 million views on somebody who says, hey, Canada, I appreciate you. Thank you for welcoming my family as refugees more than 25 years ago, and I want to do something to give back. We don't get a lot of that on the internet these days.
No, we don't, and I think that was the most surprising thing of all. But then again, when you talk to people on the street and social media seems to amplify a lot of the negative things out there. But when you talk to people on the street, like there's good people everywhere, and not everybody thinks like that. And it feels like the minority of people who are on the internet, they're like the loudest. So the good things don't get out. So when somebody, hears, something like that, and there was a lot of emotion in it, I think people, really it resonated with people very well, because like you say, there's a lot of negativity, and sometimes a little glimmer of hope comes out, and that's kind of the idea behind the whole thing, right?
I agree with you completely. I call it the 80-20 rule. Sometimes I think it might be closer to 85-15. 80 to 85% of the people are good. They really are. We live in a great place here in the region of Waterloo, and it is a wonderful country full of terrific people. So how does one prepare to run 51.9 kilometers? I mean, that's a marathon and then some tomorrow.
And yes. So, I mean, it is step by step, honestly, 1 foot at a time. When I started running, a little bit ago, I took a big break because I had a massive injury. I was out for about a year and a half. So I only got back into running about 6 months ago now. And, you start with 3 kilometers. and you go very slow, and then you just slowly, week by week, you up your mileage, and then but before you know it, your body just adapts. I think the body is just so much more capable than what we think, and yeah, it's a slow build, but you can get there. Anybody can get there. I think I love spreading that message. It's hard work, consistency, discipline, not so much motivation. It's more discipline than motivation, to be honest. And yeah, step by step.
What are you raising money for by this effort?
So the main reason why I wanted to do something like this was because ever since COVID and then the years after that, I've just seen so many more people on the streets, and it kind of hit like a boiling point when I saw a mother and a child about the age of my own kids on a corner, and I said, if there's going to be anything that I'm going to be raising money for, it would be something for a organization like Ray of Hope, who helps anybody who's homeless, hungry, mental health challenges. I feel like those are the things that are probably the most important to me, because I see so much of it out there right now, and it seems like at every street corner we're seeing more and more homeless encampments, and so yeah, that one really hits home, because here in our community, seeing that and that level of it, it pulls on your heartstrings every single time.
How much money have you been able to raise to date?
So right now we're just over $4,000. I believe that we're about $4,300, and the goal, I set a pretty high goal. I like to set high goals. It's at $25,000. If we can get anywhere near that, I think that would help a lot of people, especially now before the winter. So yeah, we're almost at about $5,000 now.
Listen, that is nothing to sneeze at from somebody that's starting from a social media post about his gratitude for this country and this community. That is going to go a long way. How can people support you in your efforts tomorrow, Jovika?
So tomorrow, so if you guys go to, anybody who can donate, please donate. If not, you guys can share the GoFundMe with some friends and family. So if you go to GoFundMe.com and look for Yates Runs for Hope, that's probably the best way to find the actual donation page. But all of the other information as well is on my Instagram page and on my Facebook page. If you just type in hashtag Yates Runs for Hope on Instagram or on Facebook, some things will pop up, and then you'll see everything in my bio, and I have a couple of links in there. And yeah.
What are you going to do on Sunday?
You know what? The funny part is I promised a friend of mine that I would we'd be moving him on Sunday.
No, you did not.
And then at 1:00, my son's first soccer game of the season is, and I'm the coaching. I've been coaching for about 4 years, all the kids. So that's there as well. So it's going to be a fun Sunday of, suffering and pain, I think.
A fun Sunday of suffering and pain. I wish you a great day tomorrow, an injury-free run, and thanks for doing what you're doing, because we need these beacons of light on the internet, particularly social media. So good on you, and I hope you get right up to that $25,000 fundraising goal.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity as well to speak on here, and you got a great show, and I love everything. All right.
Thanks for what you're doing, and good luck tomorrow. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, bye-bye. Jovika Savic, he is Yahtzee, Y-A-T-Z-I. Look up Yahtzee Runs for Hope, and you can find out more about him, his mission here, and what he's doing tomorrow, which is the 519, a 51.9 kilometer run around the perimeter of the region of Waterloo. And he's doing that in order to raise money for organizations in our community that support the homeless. Because on his daily runs, as he gets ready for this big effort, he saw a mother and a child on the street and thought, there's got to be something that I can do to help. So The run around the region, literally around the region, was his idea, and he's begun a GoFundMe, and now you know the rest of the story, as the great Paul Harvey would have said. Look up Yahtzee Runs for Hope online, and you can get all the information. Again, don't think of it like the game where you roll the dice, okay? It's spelled a little different. Yatzi. That's Yahtzee Runs for Hope, and we'll wish our good friend Jovica, a.k.a. Yahtzee, the very best of luck tomorrow as he runs 51.9 kilometers for charity. Because, you know, most people are good people, like you, here on this show. Farwell's Force, a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. We're together every day talking about the issues that matter, and on Fridays we try to bring those beacons of light into the program as well, because sometimes you get caught up in talking about budget deficits and fiscal updates and municipal council raises, and you might forget a whole heck of a lot of good out there. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the Guelph Film Festival, the curtain rises on that today, taking us through the weekend. We'll tell you what you can see while there, coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Billy Joe and Bobby Sue, two young lovers with nothing better to do than sit around the house, get high and watch a tune. And here's what happened when they decided to cut loose. They headed down to old El Paso. I swear they ran into a great big hassle. Billy Joe shot a man while robbing his castle. Bobby Sue took the money and run. Go on, take the money and run.
Did you clap along like we do during the Friends theme song as well? I did. Little bit of the Steve Miller Band and Take the Money and Run, by request from Doug on this All Request Friday Money Songs edition. This Friday also happens to be the day that the curtain rises on the Guelph Film Festival. And here to tell us more about it, Kimber Sider joins the show, artistic director of the film festival. Kimber, good morning.
Thanks for having us.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for being here. Kyle Mackey joins us as well, the chair of this year's film festival in Guelph. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning.
Kimber, let me start with you if I could. What goes into curating a film festival such as this?
So the Guelph Film Festival has open submissions online, so anybody that has a documentary made in the last kind of year and a half is able to submit a film for us. And then we have a group of pre-screeners, which includes our entire board and some volunteers from the community. And so they go through the first round of it. And then we also have our programming team, which includes local activists, local filmmakers, local photographers, people with a lot of knowledge about our themes, which are social justice and the environment, and also a lot of knowledge about film. So then they also go through and watch the top choices and start to think about what they would like to see in the festival this year. And we really try and focus on advancing conversations around our themes. So looking for films that are bringing an angle that we might not have seen on a topic, that are offering a new way in, are really artfully made, and can help us think about the issues of our day and understand other perspectives more fully.
In other words, you didn't start putting this together last week.
No, basically, as soon as the festival ends, we start submissions open for the next one.
Absolutely. And I love the way that film can spark these conversations. So big fan of what you're doing at the Guelph Film Festival. Kyle, what will we be able to see this year? What films will discuss those themes that Kimber alluded to?
Oh, sure. Well, we've got a full slate. We run starting tonight at the Arboretum. There's a film called River of Grass, which is about the wetlands in Florida. It's paired with a walk in the Arboretum beforehand, a guided walk. Tomorrow we've got a film called Assembly, which is this immersive event and screening. We partnered with the Queen Company here locally. It's about so many wonderful things. Kimber, help me out.
It's a queer Afrofuturist exploration of an artist's work and exploring what those futures can look like. So it includes explorations of AI, artistry, and how live performance can transform space and suggest how we can kind of take past narratives and redefine them for a better future. And then Queen is kind of kicking that off with a spoken word artist and some other immersive events specifically focused for our BIPOC and queer communities in connection with the film. And yeah.
And then
go ahead, Kyle.
Next week we've got a film on Thursday that's screening at the Restore here in Guelph. It's called Unless Something Goes Terribly Wrong. It's about sewage and aging sewage systems in the States and Canada. We've got a film on the Friday, November the 14th, called Compost Me, which is about the possibility of composting yourself when you've moved on to the next world. We've got a film on Saturday next week called Saints and Warriors, which is about an all-native basketball tournament. And then winding things up, I mean, there's a bunch I'm skipping over, but our closing event and screening is called Dust to Dust, which is about sustainable fashion. And we've got a fashion show after that with some local makers. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And also, I should say, on Sunday, so 2 days from today, in the morning down at 10C, which is the old Ackers building on Carden Street here in Guelph for the local folks who know that. We've got some cartoons for kids and also some mini documentaries that were created by kids that we'll be screening.
It's an impressive lineup of films, and I love how it moves around the community to different places, including that Habitat for Humanity Restore. Where can we find more information and, most importantly, get tickets for this?
Okay, well, if you go to guelphfilmfestival.ca, that's our main page. We've got the schedule. We've got links to tickets. You can also follow us on social media at Guelph Film Festival. We're on Facebook and Instagram. I would encourage people to go there and check out what is going to be screening. There's some trailers as well. Tickets are starting to move, so something to do tonight. And next weekend and in between.
Absolutely. It looks like a great lineup. And if I'm reading correctly, Kimber, it sounds as though you're the outgoing artistic director. How does it feel with this lineup being your finale?
I mean, it's been a great run for 8 years, and I'm really grateful for everybody that comes together with the team to really make this possible. It's all of our partnerships and everybody that brings so much heart to the festival. So we have some great events to close it out with, and I'm really grateful for everybody that makes this happen. It is definitely, as a small not-for-profit, it is fully a team effort, and it has been an honor to be the artistic director for the last 8 years. And I think Truth will bring a lot of great things to the festival going forward as they take over in 2026.
Well, thanks very much for bringing the film festival to the community again this year. I appreciate both of you being on the show today. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Kyle Mackey and Kimber Sider with the Guelph Film Festival. It launches today. You can get all of the information at guelphfilmfestival.ca. What a great way to spark some conversations in our community, just like we do here on the show every day. An update from the 570 News Center, and then game day, baby. Rangers head coach UC Ahokas joins us for the Coaches Show next on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. of course, is the sound you hear every time the Kitchener Rangers score a goal. They did that 3 times on home ice last Friday night in a 3-0 win over the Sudbury Wolves. Then the Rangers went on the road Saturday and scored 4 times in a 4-0 win over the Brampton Steelheads. A perfect weekend in more ways than one. 2 wins and 0 goals against for the weekend. Back-to-back shutouts for Christian Kirsch and Jason Schaubel. Every Friday morning at this time, we're joined by Rangers head coach Jussi Ahokas for the Coaches Show. Good morning, Jussi.
Good morning.
No goals allowed by your team last weekend. How the heck did you accomplish that?
I think good goaltending. Of course, the goalies have to play always well to have a shutout, and then I think we defended well. And just committing to our structure and our defense.
Tonight marks game number 17 of the season, which is 1/4 of the way through. Maybe a chapter or something for you as a coach. What do you think of your team's play 1/4 of the way into the season?
I think we didn't start the way we wanted. Of course, we've been missing quite a bit of bodies, or a few important bodies. But I think later on, like let's say last 6 games, we're starting to get there, where we want to be, and how the game's been getting better and better the whole time. I would say last 5-6 games, that's where we want to be, like how we want to play, and structure's going in. Still a lot of work to do, but at least if we keep playing like we've had let's say 4 or 5 games, we give ourselves a chance to win.
You talk about playing the way you want to play. What kind of team do you want the Kitchener Rangers to be?
No, we're hard working. We're structured. We defend well. We attack well. We play for each other, and we play all around game. Can't really say are we a defensive, but I want good defense. But then we also have to. We have to play good full offense, so it's total hockey, I would say.
And you've been getting that total hockey, you mentioned it, without some key players in the lineup. What does that tell you about some of the younger players and how they're adapting to your systems in Kitchener?
Of course, they've been playing well, and we've seen they can play in this league, but it's also been the time for some guys, they've had to play really big minutes, like Romano, Arquette, Humphreys, Pridham. So maybe now we can play even more, a little bit more evenly. So that's when we get our guys back.
Romano is a guy that over the past couple of weekends, you see, it looks like his game has found the level you would expect from him. What have you seen from him lately?
All in all, now he battles. He goes to hard areas more. His overall two-way game is really good. I think the points will start coming also because he's had chances. So it's just a time when he starts scoring.
Are you going to get any of those other bodies back this weekend?
We might get them. Might get them all 3. Let's see.
Okay, we're looking forward to that. A lot of fans are anxious. Before I let you go, tonight is a big night at the Memorial Auditorium because Pete DeBoer is going to be put on the level of legacy. Now, you might have heard, you see, a lot of Rangers fans compare you to Pete DeBoer, saying we haven't had coaching like this since Pete DeBoer was in Kitchener. What does that comparison mean to you?
Oh, that's huge, because knowing what he did in this organization for 8 years and what a career he's had as a coach, like one of the best in the whole NHL, and just you can see from NHL last 3 years in the conference finals, and but he's had an unreal career, and just be honored if anybody says, well, I have a really long way to go to still, and then he's the guy who won championships here, so that's our goal too. So he's had an unreal career, and still has now an assistant in the Olympic team, and I don't think it's actually good that he's not in the not in NHL right now that we can actually have this ceremony here today, and because otherwise it might have been a little bit harder. So great to see him, great to meet him today, and just hope our team shows up and we play our best, because he's for sure a great part of the Kitchener Rangers history.
Maybe someday we can put UC Ahokus's name up there on the level of legacy?
No, let's hope so. But there's, like I said, a long way to go. You need to win a couple championships. Then we can start talking about that, but not before.
The important thing tonight, of course, is the Saginaw Spirit. They bring a lot of offense to the game for sure. What do you have to do to be successful against them tonight?
Well, they're a good rush team, and their ozone play is good. So our defensive details have to be on, and we have to defend and take away their strengths. And if we do that, I think after that we have a good chance.
UC, thanks as always for this. We'll see you at the rink tonight.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
UC Ahokus, the head coach of the Kitchener Rangers, and understandably flattered, honored to be mentioned in the same breath as Pete DeBoer. But that's what people have been saying, right? I know it's only been 2 years, and UC is absolutely right. It's quite a ways to go. Couple of championships, OHL championships, plus a Memorial Cup in there for Pete DeBoer over his time. But so many people have said to me over the past 2 and now into a third year with this coaching staff that this reminds them of those quote-unquote glory days under Pete DeBoer and Steve Spott. And remember, this is a franchise that has such a long and rich history. I mean, we could go all the way back to, the early 80s days and the Joe McDonnell days in the late 80s and early 90s. And obviously, this is a great era again for the Kitchener Rangers. But certainly this century, it was Pete DeBoer, along with Steve Spott, who came over from Plymouth and really restored, let's say, the fortunes of this hockey club. And I got to tell you, I'm so looking forward to tonight. UC is right again when he says it's a good thing, if you will. The bright side to not having Pete with an NHL team right now is that we can have him in Kitchener for this game tonight. And he gets the deserving recognition, watching his name go up on that level of legacy. The first former Ranger to have his name go up. Brian Bellows will have his up early in 2026. But Pete DeBoer, along with his family, will be out at center ice watching that banner get raised tonight. And we'll make sure we have Pete as part of our broadcast as well. As we do every Friday night, we'll be on the air, Josh Piercy and I, at 6:30 with your Harris Law pregame show coverage. Game starts with that ceremony right after 7. We'll carry the ceremony on the air as well. And then Pete's going to join us in our second intermission. And Josh and I will stick around after the game, as we always do, to take your calls on Rangers Talk. So it's a Friday, and you know what that means. Game day, baby. Game day. Kitchener Rangers taking on the Saginaw Spirit tonight. As we enter play, the Kitchener Rangers find themselves in second place in the Midwest Division, 1 point behind the Owen Sound Attack. But the Attack have played 3 more games than Kitchener so far. This is game number 17 for the Kitchener Rangers tonight. 1 point behind Owen Sound and 6 points behind Windsor for the Western Conference lead. Windsor has also played 3 more games than the Kitchener Rangers so far. Just looking at those standings. If you're curious, down the road in Brantford, by the way, the Brantford Bulldogs, 1/4 of the way into the season, 17 games, have still not lost in regulation. They were losing last night in Peterborough, Brantford was, but scored with less than a minute to go to force overtime. They ultimately lost in overtime, but still no regulation losses for the Bulldogs this season. 13 wins, 3 overtime, and 1 shootout losses for the Bulldogs. 17 games into the season. Looking at our league leaders, we still find the pride of Ayr, Ontario, or should I say the recent pride, because Kyle Clifford, Stanley Cup champions from Ayr as well. But how about Jordan Chiron? 14 goals this season for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. And that is just one back of Merrick Van Acker of the Brantford Bulldogs with 15. But Chiron had 10 goals all of last season. He's got 14 already this year. Pittsburgh Penguins prospect and the pride of Ayr, Ontario. And I got to make one more note. as far as local hockey goes, because I'm talking about the Brantford Bulldogs in the OHL. How about those Cambridge Redhawks, eh? In the GOHL, 17-0, like across the board O's. No losses, no overtime losses, no shootout losses. The Cambridge Redhawks under Todd Bertuzzi and former Kitchener Ranger Nick Spaulding are 17-0. I should shout out Mikey Ruskin there as well, former Guelph Storm. Anyway, 17-0. Cambridge Redhawks leading the Eastern Conference in the GOHL. Keep going, you Redhawks. And please join us here on 570 News Radio tonight for Kitchener Rangers hockey. Josh Piercy and I on the air with your Harris Law pregame show starting at 6:30. Quick break. When we come back, how about 3 in a row? Trips to the Yates Cup for the Wilfrid Laurier University Golden Hawks. We'll talk to their coach coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
In life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I want money. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want.
It is your All Request Friday Money Songs edition. And Ron and Mike wanted to hear the song Money. You guys understood the assignment. Good job by you. Those are the Flying Lizards by request on this All Request Friday Money Songs edition. Well, you want to talk about money in a different sense. This team is money, you might say, because they win and they win and then they win again. And after an undefeated regular season, the Wilfrid Laurier University Golden Hawks are off to the Yates Cup. Guelph made them sweat a little bit last week, but the purple and gold prevailed, and off to the Yates Cup they go. Head football coach Michael Faulds joins us on the show this morning to talk about the Yates Cup this weekend. Michael, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on, and yes, we're excited for the Yates Cup tomorrow.
Well, I imagine you would be, and I get the feeling, Michael, that it's kind of rinse and repeat, little dynasty you've got going on here right now at Laurier. What's the secret?
Yeah, no, we've had a lot of success over the years, and it isn't easy. I would say this year was a little bit tougher because we were returning as champions and all of a sudden had a big bullseye on our back. So huge credit to our coaching staff and players that each and every week they brought their best. They were never looking ahead. And it wasn't an easy path. As you mentioned, it was a close game last week against Guelph. We had a close game up in Ottawa halfway through the season. So our guys proved to be super resilient, and we're asking them to do it again tomorrow against a good Queen's Gales team.
What do you take away from Guelph's second half push last week that might give you some motivation for the big game tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's just when you have a lead, and we went into halftime 27-0, that, it's a 4-quarter football game for a reason, and you have to play all 4 quarters. So I think our guys will do that. They recognize Queens as well coached. They've got some outstanding players. So you just don't ever want to take your foot off the gas. You want to play complementary football. And they know our mantras all year has been to go 1-0 each and every week, and they know we're 4 good quarters away from being Yates Cup champions.
Speaking of valuable players, the most valuable in the OUA is Ethan Jordan of your Golden Hawks. What have you seen from him this season, making him deserving of that recognition?
Yeah, he's just outstanding. I think what separates him is his speed. He really is the fastest player on the field each and every week. And to have 1,000 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns, for most receivers, that's a whole career. Ethan Jordan, that was his stat line in the 2024 season. He then did it again this year in the 2025 season. So that production, that star power is exceptional, and we were so happy that yesterday he got awarded as the OUA MVP.
And along with Defensive Player of the Year, Jesse Wilkins as well. So you're getting it on both sides of the ball, Michael. And, you know, I think back to our conversations last year, and a lot of the talk around the Golden Hawks was the play of most valuable player in the OUA, Taylor Elgersma, who graduates out, gets a shot with Green Bay in the NFL in the preseason. And yet, even after graduating a player like that, you're able to climb this mountain again and get back to the Yates Cup. What does that tell you about the team and the culture you've created?
Yeah, it speaks to kind of the next man up philosophy, and we benefited. Obviously, we lose a player, as you mentioned, with the star power of Taylor Elgersma, but it's not like we replaced him with an 18-year-old. We got local quarterback Cal Wither, who had just spent 3 years at a D1 program with the Ohio Bobcats. So he came in, he worked extremely hard to learn our playbook and learn our system, and each and every week he's gotten better. So we replaced last year's Heck Crichton winner with a D1 quarterback and that talent level. So that really helped us out, and, our guys have played really well together in all three phases of the game.
You mentioned earlier that sort of target on your back. You go to the Vanier Cup last year, you come up just short. You come in every week this season, and you are the team that other teams want to put a notch in their belt against by beating the mighty purple and gold, and yet you managed to keep the team focused to go to that undefeated season. How did you do that?
Yeah, I think I look all the way back to January, which was our first off-season meeting. And I said, guys, we're going to play the Yates Cup November 8th. We might play the Vanier Cup November 22nd. But I'm standing in front of you here in January, and I already know our biggest obstacle this year. And it isn't the Laval Rouge et Or, it isn't the Western Mustangs, it isn't any other team. Our biggest obstacle is everything we did in 2024 and thinking that 2025 is going to be easy because of it. So our guys really took that to heart. Every single workout, meeting, practice, they worked extremely hard. So it's not like we just have superior talent. We have great talent, but a great work ethic backing it up. So just couldn't be more proud of our student athletes.
I know that the athletes don't win things individually, and there is an entire team of coaches that helps move this Golden Hawks program forward. But along with Ethan Jordan and the OUA MVP and Jesse Wilkins, outstanding defensive stand-up player. Oh, one more piece of hardware just so happens to be Coach of the Year there, Michael, for the second time. How does that one feel?
Yeah, no, it feels great. And I always say that the best thing I've done is surrounding myself with great people and great coaches. So our defensive coordinator, Ron Van Moorkirk, our offensive coordinator, Coach Todd Galloway, it all starts with those two people. And we have about 20 coaches on staff. So we actually carry the largest coaching staff in the country. So every single one of our positions has at least two coaches with a lot of expertise coaching them up. And we've had a lot of continuity. Every single player in our locker room has had the same head coach, the same coordinators, and the same positional coaches their whole time here. And we really reap the benefits of that with their play because there's one system, one culture. So, my name's on that trophy, and I get to accept that on behalf of the staff, but it really is an army of coaches that are supporting our players.
Congratulations on the personal success. I know that you're deflecting to the team of coaches, and I understand why, but it is a great nod to what you've been able to do with the program and to the team's success, of course, as well, Michael. Go get them tomorrow against Queens.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mike.
Enjoy your day. Bye-bye. Michael Faulds is the head football coach of the Wilfrid Laurier University Golden Hawks. They are on home turf tomorrow against the Queens Gales, and it's going to be a good football day, isn't it? A little bit overcast, a little bit cold, maybe a little bit of snow flurries. Can get down and dirty and earn a trip back to the Vanier Cup. But the Yates Cup goes tomorrow, third straight appearance in the Yates for the Wilfrid Laurier University Golden Hawks. Good luck to the purple and gold. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you a house. I would buy you a house. And if I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, buy you furniture for your house, maybe a nice Chesterfield or an ottoman. And if I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you a K car, a nice Reliant automobile. And if I had $1 million, I'd buy your love.
We're going to try the Friday Four Roundtable a different way today. And I think we're going to try it with just one guest because that's all we were able to connect with. And that guest is Julie Callflesh, who's the Director of Fundraising and Communications for Sanguine Health Centre. Julie, sorry for the technical issues. Good morning.
That's okay. I'm a little nervous about being your only guest, though. I got to tell you that.
No. You always have excellent observations, and I have very little concern in that regard. And I also have complete faith in the folks on the other side of the glass that they'll find Janice for us on the phone, too, and we'll make this more of a roundtable instead of just a two-way conversation here. But thanks for bearing with us, Julie.
No worries.
So let's start with the big budget that came down on Tuesday. Prime Minister Mark Carney's first with this minority Liberal government. What are your takeaways from that budget?
Well, I think that this should be where he shines because he is a banker. And so, I feel like there were some hopeful pieces to it. And, I liked some of the things I saw that I liked. I'll just to get into it is, the cutting of 40,000 federal public service positions. So hopefully that will be through attrition, through people leaving their jobs. It sounds like a lot. It's really only about 11% of the total number of federal workers. And salaries are where they eat up all the budgets. So it is something that can really help with cost savings and is important for any organization to be looking at, especially our various levels of government. So I do think that is a promising idea. I know that there's been talk of more building of supportive and transitional housing, which is something that is super important to me. And it really will come down to execution on that. So, we've had lots of governments say that they want to build more. That's not necessarily transpiring into more transitional, affordable, and really what we need is deeply therapeutic housing models as well. So it'll all really, over time we'll find out if this is a great budget. There were some areas that look like cuts, but it's more like wordsmithing. I do think it's important to invest in the National Guard right now. I believe our security is at risk for the first time in probably many, many, many decades, if ever, and it's with our neighbors. So I think that all of those things are positive. Don't love the cuts to some of the environmental pieces, but again, things need to be seen in execution.
We've got Janice Jim on the line with us as well, the vice president of Cycle Waterloo Region. Janice, thank you for bearing with the technical difficulties.
All right, I got it. I can hear it.
Your takeaways from the federal budget on Tuesday.
I don't think it's what Canadians want right now. I read a poll that ahead of the budget, Canadians want help with cost of living and not deficits. I don't see how spending more on military and national defense and cutting, our federal workforce is going to help Canadians right now. The tax department is already understaffed, and Carney wants to cut more of the federal service sector. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. The CRA is already having a lot of trouble keeping up. And the budget doesn't really present much to help with the cost of living crisis.
Does the $78 billion deficit concern you, Janice?
Well, definitely, because, the that running up a deficit, if it's helping our population with the cost of living, is fine. But running up a deficit to spend on national defense and military, that's something I don't agree with.
So, of course, the big thing now, and the government survived one confidence test. I think it will survive the next today as the Bloc brings forward its amendments. But this is a confidence motion. It could trigger an election. I don't think we're going to get there. But I think, Julie, one of the things weighing in Prime Minister Carney's and the Liberal government's favor right now is the new member that they just got. So only 2 more votes required on the Liberal side of things to pass the budget after Chris d'Entremont crossed the floor. What do you make of floor crossing, Julie?
Well, it's certainly something that happens. It's allowed to happen. The article that you shared with us was interesting because it sounds like a lot of people still maintain their voter counts even after they've crossed the floor. Obviously, if they're crossing the floor to become more liberal, I'm all for that. But I think that it's an important way for them to trigger that they have a concern. I understand that as a voter, you vote for someone and you're not just voting for them, but you're voting for their party mandate. So it can be very tricky, and I would imagine it's something that is done with a great deal of thought and, kind of calculation around how that's going to play out. It remains to be seen, but like I said, another Liberal is A-okay with me.
What if it went the other way then? Would you feel differently if it was another Conservative?
Yeah, I was curious too. That's a great question. I don't know. Really for me, it's got to be case by case. I wanted to see in that article I saw that there was like a breakdown of how people fared in their next election. But what I didn't see in the article, maybe I missed it, was how many went from Liberal to Conservative. Like you saw the sort of changing from Conservative to Liberal to, Green, but like you didn't see it necessarily go the other way. Although there was an example of a Green party that went Liberal, I think, in there.
Yeah, from down east, yep.
Yeah, so I guess it depends. For me, it depends on why they're doing it. And, I think I can understand in some cases it's the only option they have.
I would like to see, I'm happy or pleased with the idea that we can still act on our conscience as opposed to strictly party lines. I want people to have that freedom of choice, if you will, but I've always thought it should trigger an automatic by-election, go back to the voters and say, okay, you elected me as a Conservative. Will you re-elect me as a Liberal because I want to cross the floor and test the waters on the other side? Janice, what do you think of crossing the floor?
I think it's a unique quirk of our parliamentary system that we have to live with. We should allow people to act on their conscience and not be locked to a party. But I understand that as a voter, I would be upset if I voted for, let's say, an NDPer and they became a Liberal or Conservative. That's definitely not what my intention was. I would like if we added a process for a recall, not an automatic trigger of a by-election, because those are really costly, and a lot of times nobody wants another election. But maybe maybe build in some sort of process for a recall. I think in Alberta right now they have a couple of MPPs being recalled because people are unsatisfied. So I would like that power as a voter, with enough organizing that you get enough signatures, you could recall a member. I would like that added.
It's interesting that you mentioned, Janice, if you had voted for an NDP representative and they switched sides and joined the Liberals, you might not feel very good about that. My little conspiracy theory here is, and I don't know how wacky it is, to be honest with you, is that maybe Prime Minister Carney never really thought he had to build enough support to pass the budget. He just thought he could recruit enough members from other parties to have a majority. He's only 2 away from that, and maybe he's trying to lure some NDP over to the Liberal tent.
Yeah, I think with this budget, it's not a very liberal budget. It's a very conservative budget. So he's definitely up to something.
Julie, when it comes to what this means for the federal Conservatives now, I've been bandying that about in my mind for a little while. And I mean, I don't even know right now, if I'm being honest, if Pierre Poilievre survives that leadership review in January based on the way things are going. One resignation came by surprise last night, and then you've got D'Entremont's floor crossing. What do you think this means for the federal Conservatives right now?
Well, I hope it means we're going to look for, a different path and a different leader. It isn't a great time to be Pierre Poilievre because of, I believe, what's happening in the States. And it is something that there's a lot of Canadians who are very, wary of and leery of in terms of not wanting to see that kind of politics happening here. And as soon as he won his seat out west, he was right back at it again. And I think that people, hopefully, obviously there were people that do support his type of politics, but to me, I'm hoping it means a change and getting back to more of the progressive, conservative mandates and not being so divided.
It has been a little bit of a, I don't know if I want to go so far as to say toxic, but it's been an unpleasant form of politics, I would say, over the last little bit. Janice, what do you think this is saying to the federal Conservative leader?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely time for a shakeup. He hasn't, been able to get any traction with his messaging, and he was trying to play the toxic American politics game here, but it hasn't gotten him, that far. And it seems like his own party members are getting sick of this and revolting. So he's got to do something, or definitely he's not going to survive his leadership review.
Janice Jim is the Vice President of Cycle Waterloo Region. Julie Callflesh is the Director of Fundraising and Communications for Sanguine Health Centre. They join us this morning on the Friday 4 Roundtable as we've got our technical glitches worked out for the time being. Julie and Janice have rolled right along with us, and we appreciate that, talking about the federal budget and the crossing of the floor. We've still got a couple of topics to tackle, including staying in that political vein. The new mayor of New York. We don't often talk about U.S. politics on this show, but the new mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani, is a very interesting character indeed. And he came out in a very combative way in his victory speech, taking direct aim at U.S. President Donald Trump. So we'll talk about the new mayor of the U.S.'s largest city, New York, and LRT into Cambridge. Regional Council has voted in favor of it, but should we put it to a referendum for Cambridge residents first? That's coming up on the Mike Farwell Show with our Friday 4 Roundtable on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. With us on the Friday 4 Roundtable this morning, Julie Callflesh is the Director of Fundraising and Communications for Sanguine Health Centre, and Janice Jim is the Vice President of Cycle Waterloo Region. We've talked about the budget. We've talked about the floor crossing. Now let's bring it much closer to home and talk about light rail transit phase 2. Regional Council, at least at the committee level, voted 15-1 this week in favor of a staff recommendation that says, let's go rail. Rapid buses were an option, but rail is the preferred choice by all but one regional councillor. It was Cambridge Mayor Jan Liggett who was in opposition. Janice, I'll start with you on this one, if I could. Do you think we need to put this to a referendum? Should Cambridge residents get the chance to vote on light rail before we move ahead with the $4.5 billion project?
No, because it's already been delayed enough. and throwing another, roadblock into it, which is going to push things even more. It should have been built at the same time in the first place. And now, so many years down the line, we're still discussing the route, discussing the budget. And now the cost has ballooned so much because we waited too long. And this is, vital infrastructure to develop the rest of the Waterloo region. And Cambridge, seems like it's always gotten left out. They should have been part of it in the first place. And any more delays is just going to leave them further behind.
So how do we respond then, Janice, to a Cambridge city councillor, for example, who has said that she talked to 1,000 people and only 3 of them in Cambridge were supportive of the project? That indicates that there is a lot of people who don't support. And why wouldn't we ask them then in a referendum?
Yeah, well, I would like to see scientifically that sample size. Anecdotes don't mean anything to me. And also the development of the region. The region has upzoned land around the LRT. So it's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg. If you build the LRT and you do the zoning around it, then the residents will come around. And letting people decide themselves is not necessarily the best city planning procedure.
I think it's a great point on the planning that goes on around transit stations, and we need look only at Kitchener and Waterloo since Light Rail Phase 1 opened, even while it was under construction, to see the benefits when it comes to the development side. Julie, your thoughts on a referendum on Phase 2 for Cambridge residents?
No, we don't need to waste more time on this. Like Janice said, it's already ballooned in cost because of feet dragging and infighting and all the things that happen around this project. There's been lots of community consultations. I worked at the region at the time that Phase 1 was starting and being rolled out. This is a well thought out plan by, previous leadership at the region to make our city better connected and less congested like you see in cities like Toronto. And with the amount of growth we are seeing in Waterloo region, looking at, I think it's in 2050 we'll have 1 million residents. It's coming, and we need to have alternate ways for people to get around. And I highly doubt this 1,000 residents and only 3 out of 1,000. And I agree with Janice. Well, then let's see this actual evidence that it was done in a proper way where, the study was done in a proper and, ethics-informed way. If you only are talking to people who look like you, and people who live in your own neighborhood, then you may be missing the bigger picture. And that's what I think is happening here with these Cambridge leaders, is that they're not talking to the broader community. They're not looking at the evidence that already exists out there. And frankly, if you were to go and just stand near LRT stop or watch them go by on the tracks, they're always full in Kitchener and Waterloo. And I remember during the time we were developing Phase 1, and I was standing at the hockey rink, and as I often do, and I will be in a couple minutes, but, a dad said to me, no one's ever going to ride LRT. This is a ridiculous waste of money. And I laugh every time I stopped at a light and I see LRT go by. It's always full. People are using it, and it's making our community more connected and more affordable.
I've heard those anecdotes of the train not being full, but Julie, I'm with you. I remember seeing a train on a Sunday not too long ago, and I was quite frankly surprised at the number of people who were riding it on a Sunday. And I confess, look, as somebody who primarily drives, it kind of sucks trying to work your way around at-grade rail in the city, but it's kind of the price you pay to get this sort of high-order transit system. And I think that when we see the billions of dollars in development returned on the less than $1 billion spent on Phase 1, we can understand why it's going to be of benefit to the entire region, and particularly Cambridge, when we get to building Phase 2. I'm interested in what you said, though, too, Julie, about working at the region as Phase 1 was coming to an end, because I have felt like I'm in a little bit of a time warp this week with the discussion around phase 2. I mean, if we go back, it was then Waterloo Mayor Brenda Halloran who said we need to have a referendum and voted against phase 1. And some of these same arguments are just bubbling right back to the surface. It's like we didn't learn anything the first time.
Exactly. And shout out to the regional staff and any municipal staff who have to go out and do the hard work of actually talking to residents, actually doing proper studies. They've done all the work, and we've already paid for that. Now we have to pay to see this project through as it was promised at the time, and it's already going to cost us so much more. We don't need to waste any more time.
One of the interesting arguments I heard in the council meeting or the committee meeting the other day was from a Cambridge resident who said he was opposed primarily because they didn't do the Cambridge route first because it was the more complicated of the two. And I think that's interesting, and it speaks to, I think, an ongoing narrative in this community that Cambridge is kind of left out. And I understand all of that sentiment, but this is one of the main reasons, too, that I want to see this get built for Cambridge. Janice, from your perspective, and you would know this in active transportation for sure, but what is it about phase 2 that excites you? Why do you want to see this done as rail in the community?
Well, just the development that comes with it. We've seen how much economic development has poured into Kitchener-Waterloo since the rail has been built. Look at all the condos and businesses and all the economic additions along the corridor. And this is what Cambridge needs. Cambridge is, in terms of per capita, GDP is lower than the other two cities, and this will bring much more development to the city. And connecting, Kitchener-Waterloo to Cambridge, there's often lots of events and, things I want to do in Cambridge that I just don't go to because, the bus takes an hour. And the University of Waterloo already has a Cambridge campus. And Galt, the Gaslight District, is a great addition to, the arts and culture and events of our community. And right now it's not possible to get to without a car, and the bus takes way too long, and the bus doesn't run late at night. So it's just cutting Cambridge off from the rest of our community.
That University of Waterloo School of Architecture in the Galt area, very supportive of phase 2. And you mentioned the Gaslight District, Janice, and that's such a beautiful area of Galt. And when light rail gets there, and I believe that it will, I'm not going to try to guess at the timeline, but it will get there. I just think it enhances the overall atmosphere in that area right now for sure. Janice, Jim, and Julie Callflesh are with us on the Friday 4 Roundtable this morning. A quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about some U.S. politics, municipal politics even, but this is a big one. The new mayor of New York is an interesting cat, to say the least, and we'll talk about him with our Friday 4 guests next on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Our Friday 4 Roundtable moves into its fourth and final topic for the day, and it's going to be U.S. politics based. But believe you me, well, I guess you don't have to take it from me. I'm very curious what our guests will think about this. Julie Callflesh, the Director of Fundraising and Communications for Sanguine Health Center, and Janice Jim, the Vice President of Cycle Waterloo Region. I read a long form about the mayoral candidate in New York by the name of Zohran Mamdani. I had no idea. I probably don't pay as much attention to U.S. politics as I should, other than what we get out of the Oval Office and the ongoing confusion, quite frankly, with Donald Trump. But I came across this story and I was utterly fascinated by this Mamdani character and the waves that he was making in New York. 34 years old, describes himself as a socialist, flat out his own description. And if you want to find the anti-Donald Trump mayor in the United States, you found him, as he's now been elected to the United States' largest city hall. Zohran Mamdani, the new mayor of New York. Julie, I'll start with you. What do you think of this character?
Well, I don't think it's a surprise for you to hear that I like him. No one will be shocked by that. Again, I'm not following as closely. I'm trying to stay away from U.S. news because it's pretty toxic right now. But, my thoughts, it's hard to avoid this news story. And he was voted in to make New York more affordable. And so he has a big task ahead of him, but it sends a very strong message. And when you look at, his opponent, Cuomo, he was so out of touch. I saw an interview where they were both asked what they paid in rent. And Mamdani said he was paying $2,300 a month. And there's a bit of a story behind that. And then Cuomo said he was paying like $8,000 or something a month. And then went on to say that Mamdani was taking a space away from poor people. And it kind of goes back to my previous point about LRT. So Mamdani is living in a affordable housing type situation because it's become so unaffordable. And he's also now immersed in a community of people who bring those broader, perspectives. When you're voted in, you represent the whole community, the whole city, not just the people that look like you, that think like you, that have, the same amount of money as you. And so I think that while this task is going to be very difficult, I think it's a hopeful nod towards the future that people are looking for in the U.S. and maybe an awakening to, what is truly happening there. So, I wish him all the luck and, support and safety as he goes on this difficult path. But, I was relieved to see that, the public chose someone who thinks and looks like him.
There's no question this is a difficult path. And in his victory speech, he talked about New York being a city of immigrants and will remain a city of immigrants. And of course, we know what's going on with ICE in the United States right now and how fearful some immigrant communities are in the U.S. So I think that's a huge feather in the cap, if you will, and just so interesting. And you mentioned Andrew Cuomo, a political veteran who really got beat handily by Mamdani in this race. Janice, what do you make of the new mayor of New York?
It's certainly refreshing in this dark age of ICE raids and Donald Trump. So when you say that Cuomo got beat handily, the money tells you even more. The Cuomo campaign spent $54 million because they had a bunch of money from outside interest groups trying to get him elected. And the Mamdani campaign had $19 million total. So even with all that money, Cuomo could not budge this guy. And Cuomo ran some really racist and disgusting attack ads and, AI-generated slop ads. They were just trying to throw everything they had at him, and they couldn't beat him. They tried to throw every single dirty trick in the book at him. Just shows you the power of grassroots people organizing, and that's how he did it. He increased the voter turnout in the youth massively. If you look at the early voting, the youth percentage that turned out was incredible. It just shows you, what can be done. But he's also a very good candidate and very good speaker, so not everyone is able to pull this off. So it just shows you, the work he put into it and the smart team and the strategy he had behind winning the race to overcome, such a huge monetary difference.
Beating the establishment in that money and the political veteran that is Andrew Cuomo, one thing. And the other, of course, is, again, I'll go back to the word he uses to describe himself as a socialist. This is a complete 180 from what the United States generally elected in their last president, because Donald Trump, I don't think, could be any further right than any president in recent history. And now you've got the mayor of the largest city in the United States as far left as you'll find, a complete departure from the tone of politics in the U.S. Janice, what do you take away from that for perhaps the democratic movement or even the democratic socialist movement in the States now?
Well, I think it's a good sign, a sign of hope, and a sign of models that we could follow. And in Canada, with the NDP leadership race coming up, it's something that we could, look at and think about what's possible in our government. Someone outright saying socialist, which has been a bad word for people for many, many years. Anyone, it's a smear word. But him winning with, labeling himself a socialist, it just shows you what can be achievable.
Because you're on the phone, you couldn't see me nodding when you said that, socialist. It's been used as an insult. And that's why when Danny described himself as that first story I read, I thought, wow, you've got some courage. And Julie, I'll take it back over to you just as we wrap up here. I mean, Danny made it clear in his victory speech. Donald Trump, I know you're listening. I've got 4 words for you. Turn up the volume. And then he took direct aim at the U.S. president here. I think this is a sign politically in the States.
I hope so. I really hope so. People need to wake up to, the lies that are being told to them and, the rights that are being stripped from them. And having people in leadership like Mondami will hopefully help balance the rhetoric that's out there right now. Because is Trump far right or is he a fascist? He's a fascist. So you need socialism to come onto the playing field to really balance things out and to get people thinking differently. We got a lot of people that are sort of in the middle, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, who don't agree with what's happening but aren't speaking up, aren't having the courage. You have Mondami, who took a direct hit. He was told, by the president that they would, lose money in New York and he would stop investing in New York if Mondami was chosen. And here we are. So, here's a city that Trump became who he is now saying, yeah, you're not the one, your type is not what we want here. And it isn't helping anyone. And so hopefully it is a shift and a big one. Yeah,
that's a great point. It's a rejection of the man who built his empire in the city that has now elected a socialist mayor. Julie, Janice, great conversation as always. And I know how difficult it is on your end right now, just sitting there on a phone because we couldn't get our Zoom connection working. So thank you so much for going through what you've gone through to provide your insight on the show today. Very much appreciated.
All good.
Enjoy the weekend ahead. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Janice Jim, Julie Callflesh joining us on the Friday 4 Roundtable this morning. Janice is the Vice President of Cycle Waterloo Region. Julie, the Director of Fundraising and Communications for Sanguine Health Centre. It's the same way I know how difficult it is for you when you wait on hold and then you get on the phone and we have these conversations. It's different when it's just the phone. We couldn't do it via Zoom today. And Janice and Julie step up in a huge way, as I know you will in the next hour because it's yours. We close out the show together every week with Free Phones Friday here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Fighting in cars, never
go, Greg. I hope you're happy. It must be one of the benefits of being an official Farwell's Force member. Number 38 is Greg, and he wanted to hear AC/DC and What You Do for the Money on this All Request Friday. Money Songs edition. And Greg says even further, you got to play it after noon. I don't do anything. I don't get out of bed for less than $10,000, and I don't start my day before noon. So you got to play it after noon. So not only the request, but the timing of it for Farwell's Force member number 38, Greg. All Request Friday Money Songs edition. And as we finish off the show every week, we open the phone lines to you for free phones Friday. Lord knows I've had enough time to go on and on and on about the things that are chafing my chaps. What about you? Maybe they're not even chafing your chaps. Maybe you're excited for that stupid snow we're going to have this weekend. Whatever it is, phone lines are now open at 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. We've had ourselves a week. Let's find out what's on your mind. Charlie, start us off. Good afternoon.
Hey, Mike, hi. I'd like to acknowledge the excellent article in this week's record by Louisa D'Amato titled, Let Cambridge Residents Decide the Future of Light Rail. What an excellent article. And I'd also like to acknowledge the stand taken by our fine mayor, Jan Liggett, against light rail. Mike, I've heard a lot of pros and cons for light rail coming in Cambridge. But, no one has addressed the effect light rail might have on the Cambridge film industry. Mike, I've watched numerous film shots in charming downtown Guelph. And I've noticed how this area was transformed back to the 50s and 60s with the old cars parked around, timely costumes, storefront facade changes. Now imagine, Mike, putting a light rail line right through this area, looking somewhat like the ugly eyesore on King Street by the Grand River Hospital. Mike, you might as well kiss the film industry goodbye, and all the revenue of this industry comes to Cambridge. And that's my opinion, Mike.
Charlie, appreciate the opinion. Look, it's not going to disrupt all of historical, beautiful, architecturally elegant Galt, for sure. But your point's well taken. It doesn't really fit with the Murdoch's mystery historical theme, does it? And I get your point. I really do when it comes to a referendum. I'd be interested, quite frankly, in a referendum because in order to be binding, it has to have 50% plus one. And I don't think even with the referendum question on the municipal ballot, we would get turnout enough to make the referendum question binding. But I understand. I do understand where you're coming from. This is not just change. I don't even know what's the bigger word than change, right? This is a transformation of the city of Cambridge. It's going to be an incredible disruption while it gets done. Not everybody thinks the line will serve the right areas of Cambridge, but I want this for two reasons. And I think we should want it as a community for these same reasons. But this is just my opinion. First of all, we are one large region. We talked to a guy today that's doing a run for charity around the entirety of Waterloo region this weekend, tomorrow, in fact. Find him online, Yahtzee Runs for Hope. Yahtzee like the game, but not spelled the same. Y-A-T as in Thomas, Z-I. Yahtzee Runs for Hope. It's almost 52 kilometers just to run around the perimeter of this region. We can go from a downtown core to a beautiful countryside and an end of the lane egg or flower sale in 10 minutes. It's such a great place. But we are all one connected community. And that ding-dang 401, boy, does it geographically and almost physically separate Cambridge, doesn't it? It always just feels like it's so much further away. The rail line, once completed, will finally connect us from South Cambridge to North Waterloo. And I think there's value in that. If for no other reason, I think there's value in that psychologically for us. But the main reason I want to see light rail get into Cambridge is because Cambridge deserves it. You do. And I mean that sincerely. I know it's expensive. My gosh, do I know it's expensive. But the benefits by way of development in return, will more than double what is spent in laying down the tracks. So I still feel the pain. I still grumble when I'm driving through downtown Kitchener, which I actually try to avoid now because it's hard to get around. Tracks here, no left turns there. Uptown Waterloo, same thing. It's frustrating, but bigger picture, it's worth it. And we have to remember, this ain't about us. It's just not. It's about our kids and their kids and what this community looks like long after we're gone. I hope you get it, Cambridge. I really do. I don't think we need a referendum on it. I'm not even sure we'd get enough turnout, but I would be interested in that for sure. Sean is next on Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon, Sean.
Good afternoon, Mike. I live in the area, and I'm really getting tired of these made-up arguments.
Which area? Do you mean Cambridge?
Oh, yeah.
Thank
I live
you.
in downtown
Okay.
Guelph.
Yep.
I'm very familiar with the route. As a matter of fact, when he said about, the downtown core, I pulled up the map of the Ion 2 route right now. It's on an old rail bed that used to exist when I first lived in Cambridge. It's going down beside Beverly Street. It won't even touch the historical core. So as to his arguments, they're totally made up. And honestly, at this point, these referendums and stuff, I think it's just attempted delaying tactics by the opponents of Ion. That's all it is. It's got to happen, and these are just delaying tactics. They're getting desperate, quite frankly.
Okay, Sean, I appreciate the perspective. It would delay. There's no question about that. And I'll just remind you, and I got to thank my Uncle Roger for this from back in the day, because he was the one that put it into my head when we were building Phase 1. And he said, we should just build the whole thing. We should build the whole thing from top to bottom, one fell swoop. Let's rip off the Band-Aid. It would have cost us $1.8 billion. $1.8 billion for the entire system. Instead, we phased it, $868 million for the first phase, and now $4.5 billion for the second. So all in, 3 times what it would have cost to build it all at once all those years ago. My Uncle Roger was a great, great man. You want to talk about somebody that knew what was good for this community? Just Google the name Roger Farwell. I'll tell you that right now for free. Grant, you're next on Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. That penalty that Jacob Stu got, I think it was last Friday.
Yeah.
Where he either hit the guy shoulder blades or the neck. Did he get a 3 or 4 game suspension?
He got a 4-game suspension. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, I thought so. Yeah, the guy has to kind of channel his excitement somewhere else, channel it towards scoring, not that. But, yeah, I like his enthusiasm anyways. And way to go, Peter!
I love it, Grant. Way to go, Peter, as in DeBoer, whose name will be put onto the new Kitchener Rangers level of legacy tonight. I am so excited for this. I feel a little bit like a kid at Christmas. I think this is great. Part of it is just nostalgic, right? When I first came over to Kitchener to broadcast OHL, I had started in Guelph. Sean Camp was the coach there. Dave Barr was the coach there. And then in 04-05, after Guelph made their Memorial Cup run in 2004, I jumped over here because the opportunity presented itself in my hometown of Kitchener. And Pete DeBoer was the coach, the first coach with the Rangers that I worked with. And to have watched him do what he's done over all of these years, it's just, I always think back on what he was like as a coach in Kitchener, the success that he had, and then, of course, he became an incredibly successful, one of the most successful, winningest coaches in NHL history. He's just going to get that Stanley Cup, which he will get at some point. But to have him being added as the first name to this level of legacy tonight is just, it's fantastic stuff. Cannot wait for the night. And I'll remind you that we'll get Pete on our broadcast tonight as well. So stay with us on 570 News Radio. Pre-game coverage starts at 6:30. Rangers talk until 11. And in the meantime, between time, the action between the Rangers and the Spirit and Pete DeBoer, level of legacy member, the first ever for the Kitchener Rangers. It's just so great for the organization. Such a proud, historic organization. and Pete's name going up is going to be great. On the Jacob Zoo front, real quick, I always just chuckle because Grant, I don't think we've mentioned Jacob Zoo's name all week, but Grant is invested in his Kitchener Rangers. It's game day. So defenseman Jacob Zoo, and I'm glad Grant brought this up because I can clarify something. Jacob Zoo got a 5-minute match penalty for slashing versus Sudbury last Friday. So the match brought an automatic 1-game suspension. The league put it, I think it's automatic 1, could have been automatic 2. Either way, the league said it was, the suspension was indefinite pending review. They ultimately landed on 4 games. So tonight will be the second of the 4 games served. I had said on social media when the 4 games was announced that I thought that was a little strict for a first-time offender. The suspension was warranted because Jacob Zoo did slash somebody across the upper back, lower neck, whatever head area. As Grant says, we'll hope he finds a different way to express his enthusiasm in the future. I thought 4 games was harsh. I thought he might get 2. But nonetheless, I know the league wants to protect players, so Jacob Zoo will not be in the Rangers lineup tonight as he serves game 2 of a 4-game suspension. Free Phones Friday continues here on the Mike Farwell Show. We'll take more of your calls real quick on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Hey, well, all right, sir, here we go there, and what are they going to give for 'em? I bet $600 down here now, 10 and now, 25 and now, 35 and now, 50 now, 60, will they give me 60 now, 75, 75 another $85 on the farm there. There was a boy in Arkansas who wouldn't listen to his ma when she told him he should go to school. He'd sneak away in the afternoon, take a little walk, then pretty soon you'd find him at the local auction barn. He'd stand and listen carefully, then pretty soon he began to see how the auctioneer could talk so rapidly. He said, oh my, it's do or die, I've got to learn that auction cry, gotta make my mark and be an auctioneer.
That is Leroy Van Dyke and the auctioneer song for Francis on this All Request Friday Money Songs edition. I was thinking of going auctioneer on you there, but I don't think I can. Auctioneers have a special way of delivering their message. We are playing your money songs on this All Request Friday because it's been a big week for money, right? Federal budget, fall fiscal update from the province. And your requests, I like that one, the auctioneer song by Leroy Van Dyke. For Francis, enjoying the show today from Listable. Free Phones Friday continues. Right back to the phones we go for Tony. Good afternoon, Tony.
Good afternoon, Mike. I need your help.
I'm here for you, brother. What do you need?
All right. Can you, our vast listenership, somebody please let me know how I can keep a poppy on for more than 5 minutes? I've tried everything. These things keep on falling off. Now, I don't mind going and donating more money and buying more poppies, but I once put a pin that had a Canadian flag, and I was told by one of our veterans that is the improper way to do it, and the last thing I want to do is disrespect our veterans. But I can't keep these things on more than 5 minutes. I need your help.
Have you tried the little bit of an eraser on the back of the pin, Tony?
No, I haven't. Where do you find an eraser these days?
Well, now that is another... Listen, how much help do you want, Tony? Like, how much can I do for you here?
I mean, there's got to be a better way to keep these things on. I mean, I can't keep them on more than 5 minutes.
I get you. I hear you. And I think it's all part of the plan, right? So we donate more.
Hey, no problem. I have no problem doing that.
I'm with you.
I'd like to keep them on. I'd like to keep them on. That's all.
I appreciate it, Tony. Listen, we know Farwell's force, a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with, a force for good. I know we can find a way to help you out. I'm going to tell you something, and I don't even remember where I got this, but I've got 2 of them now. And believe you me, they ain't never leaving. I came across... It was probably my beloved because she does all the great things. She keeps me in check. But I have a poppy with the center of the poppy is a little plastic piece. Not a Canadian flag, but it's got a back pin on it, right? So it never falls off because it's fastened through the back. And I have 2 of these. So one I can put on my jacket that I wear, my outer coat. Oh, producer Paulie loves it when I talk about outerwear. If you put it on, it's outerwear. Anyway, so my outer coat has one. Every time I put it on, I leave the house, I'm covered. And then I have the other one that I wear. So when I take my outer coat off, when I get to work here, you see, it goes on my suit jacket that I wear here on the show. So there you go. Or my sweater or whatever shirt I'm wearing that day. in the case of today, it just happens to be the lapel of my sport coat. But I have a poppy with a pin on the back. So the pin goes right through, and then it can get fastened. That's what I've got, and I've got 2 of them. And I'm sorry, Tony, I'm not giving you one because I need them both. But by all means, if you've got poppy solutions as opposed to... I mean, you can still get an eraser. I'm sure if you go over to Staples or something like that, you'll find an eraser. Heck, if you want to meet somewhere, I know I've got an eraser in the desk at home. Don't use it. Who would? But maybe now you use it. Come in handy for the back of your poppy. We'll keep taking suggestions because we're here to help you, Tony. We are. Gary, Farwell's Force member number 41. Good afternoon.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Good, thank you.
God, 3 quick things. Man, I love my Fridays. Let me tell you.
You and me both.
Week, Friday comes, and it's a beautiful thing. Second, going to send some good vibes from Guelph to the Rangers for tonight. I think you guys are going to have a good game, and I'm going to predict that you're going to win. And the third thing is, just always been curious, Mike, just to ask you this question, is that, so yesterday I finished at the dealership, and I had a real craving for a Baconator and some fries. So I went to Wendy's, came home, and just devoured it and just enjoyed it. Just curious if... when you're done, with your talk show or after a hockey game, do you have any of those guilty pleasure cravings that you just go, I know I shouldn't be eating it, but I'm going to eat it and I'm going to enjoy it?
Oh, Gary, that's a great question, and I appreciate it. The answer to that would be everything, because I see food, I eat it, period. I do enjoy an adult beverage after a hockey game, kind of a little... tradition I've built for myself. So usually on Friday nights, I'll come home from work and have myself a nice cold beer. It's funny you mention a fast food burger because we decided we were going to do some fast food last night, first time in a long time. And I went to my favorite fast food place, and what an utter disappointment. I don't think I'll be going back there anytime soon. It was an absolute disappointment. I'll just leave it at that. But I'm glad you enjoyed your Baconator for sure. Bob, you're on Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon.
Hey, this is a direct message for Tony. I hate to give any particular company a plug, but KW Surplus, 99 cents. They've got those pins that you were talking about.
No way. Is that where my beloved got these things? 99 cents?
I suspect.
Oh, she's such a smart woman, except for the fact that she's stuck with me. But okay, Bob, thanks for that.
All right.
Really appreciate you too. Appreciate. Look at that. Tony, there you go. Don't look for the magic eraser. Go to KW Surplus there on Victoria Street. You know the place because it's got the big plane out front. And pop in and get yourself the pin for 99 cents. You'll never lose another poppy. How do you like that? And kudos to Tony as well for when he talked about it. He said, I don't mind making another donation and picking up another poppy. When I first talked about the poppy campaign launching last Friday, I said, when you see our veterans out or when you see those boxes at the coffee shop, buy a poppy. You're not buying it. You're making a donation to our local Legion and our veterans in this community. It's a donation. You're not buying anything. You're making a donation. Tony knew that better than I. But now you know, Tony, where to go to get one of those pins. 99 cents. You're all set. We continue with Free Phones Friday here on the Mike Farwell Show, taking your calls on our last hour together this week. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Go wandering once again back to the seasons of my youth. I recall a box of rags that someone gave us, and how my mama put the rags to use. There were rags of many colors, but every piece was small, and I didn't have a coat, and it was away down in the fall. Mama sewed the rags together, so in every piece with love she made my coat of many colors that I was so proud of.
The unmistakable,
She told a story from the
inimitable Dolly Parton. And Coat of Many Colors on this All Request Friday, Money Songs edition. I see what you did there, Bob. Pretty creative with the money song. Doesn't directly mention money, but you get the idea from the story that Dolly's family didn't have much of it. Good job by you on this All Request Friday. We're into the Free Phones Friday portion of our show, and Grumpy Phil is on the line. I like this, Grumpy Phil. I'm Grumpy Farwell. What's going on?
Of course I'm grumpy. Now you're going to make me follow up Dolly Parton?
Sorry, buddy.
Follow that?
It's not my choice. It just happened that way.
First of all, kudos to you and your crew and your guest this morning. I worked in TV for 30 years, and I had some pretty rough nights. Underneath the rubble of 864 King is probably piles of documents with my name highlighted for technical errors. Some days I felt I was one patch cord pull away from a new career. When things are struggling in your life, it's different when you're in a workplace and you got time to fix things. But kudos to you and your staff. You guys pulled that through and your guest this morning. Second kudos is to you. For this past week, the stories of local, provincial politics, there's been some big stories. I have to really appreciate the way you bring in guests with facts and expertise on it. I mean, a person like me, I can sit here at home and rant all day, but without the facts, I have nothing really of substance. So I appreciate when you bring people in, especially that federal budget with Mr. Lee. Perfect. It's nice to get a real clear professional insight and understanding as to what goes on. Now, my rant is I love the way in the past you've referred to know your lane when it comes to politics. If you're federal politics, you stick there. Provincial, you stick there. Municipal, you stick there. But my issue is with the provincial government in everybody's lane. They're in the speed cameras, they're in the bike lanes, they're trying to do federal trade. They're over in Germany right now trying to work up trade deals. That's not your lane. That's Carney's, and that's the mayor's area is that one. You're not the mayor of Toronto. You're not the prime minister. You're the premier. Fix the highways. Fix the trucking industry. Fix education and health. Know your lane, Mr. Ford. And I think you do a great job some days, Mr. Farwell, of bringing that back to our attention of that's your job, that's your lane. Don't meddle with other people's work. So keep doing the great job that you do, my friend.
Well, Phil, I really appreciate that. As somebody describing himself as Grumpy Phil, that was certainly an awful lot of flattery for Grumpy Farwell. So that's appreciated. I might suggest that Ontario, as the largest province in this country, might have some skin in the game when it comes to working on trade deals. But yes, staying in one's lane is one of my favorite reminders in politics. And I'll just use this as an opportunity to remind you of the $9.1 million of your dollars that this premier has just decided to spend on a feasibility study for a tunnel under the 401. From an engineering perspective, I have no doubt that it can be done. We can do anything. The question is whether or not we should. And of course, we should not even consider this tunnel. It should never be anything more than a flight of fancy that you're talking about with your friends over beers. And now you're spending $9 million of my dollars on it. And I don't like that at all, says Grumpy Farwell. Free Phones Friday over to Laurier. Good afternoon, Laurier.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
That's good. I'm not too bad at all.
Good.
I'm the president of the local Kitchener Royal Canadian Legion. And I just wanted to let everyone know those centres that you were talking about for the poppies?
Yes.
They're available at any Legion.
Laurier, that is amazing to hear. I've got a lot of emails that said that very same thing. So,
did you? Okay.
But that's great because you're telling us. I haven't even read all the emails on the air yet. So do we just come to the Legion and we can get one of those center pins?
Absolutely. Just go up to the bar and they'll sell you one.
Come on. How much do they cost us, Laurier?
Well, it depends on where you are. They're $2 at our branch, which is on Belmont.
Okay. Oh, so you're the Fred Geese branch?
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Laurier, when I was a kid, that was an MTO office. That's where I got my driver's license.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people.
You betcha. Well, I'm really glad that you called in to let us know about that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Are you ready
Have a great day.
Are you ready for Remembrance Day?
Oh, God, I'll never be ready for Remembrance.
It's pretty stressful, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Well,
but it's worth it.
It is. I know you'll do a great job, as always. Thank you again for calling in.
Oh, you take care.
All right, you too. Bye-bye. There you go. Straight from the Legion's mouth, okay? You can get those center pins from the Legion for just $2. Give them a $5. Let's go. Come on now and get that center pin, and then you will never lose another poppy. Tony, I'm so glad you called before and asked for help because Farwell's force, a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with, but a force for good, in this case today, points you in the right direction. Go get yourself that center pin straight from the Legion. I've got 2 of them. I told you before. And they are the best things. One goes on my jacket that I wear outdoors. Another goes on whatever I'm wearing indoors. And the poppy is always there at the end of the day. Andre, you're on Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Game day, baby.
Game day, baby.
That just blew my mind because, when you have a brain injury, Mike, you need to exercise your brain. And that's what I've learned. And being on your show is exercising my brain. Thank you for being you, just like Grumpy, that guy said.
Grumpy Phil, yeah.
Round panel one day, Mike.
I should what?
He should be on a 4-round panel. He expressed himself very clearly.
He has been on the Friday 4-round table before.
Right.
Yes.
Where was I? But anyway, that was good. To Mike, it's like you said, game day, and I really like the ceremony that's going to be on for tonight. Unfortunately, I don't know that person, but to the voice of UC Otis, it felt like it one of his goals or more. To me, Mike, I got a question for you. Brian Bellows, when is he coming? Because he's one of my favorite.
Okay. I think it's January. Could be February. I'm pretty sure it's January. But let me get this straight. You know who Brian Bellows is. He played here and won a Memorial Cup in the 1980s. But you don't know who...
I never knew that until you said that.
But you don't know Pete DeBoer?
Who?
Peter DeBoer, the guy that's getting on the level of legacy tonight.
No.
Andre, you're breaking my heart here.
No, you're the one that's bringing the passion back.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Just like I didn't even know Larry Robinson, one of my favorite defense, played here.
Yeah, I get it. So you like Bellows because he won a Stanley Cup with your favorite team, too. I get it. Yeah, I get it. I see how it is, Andre. I see how it is. Pete DeBoer, the winningest coach in Kitchener Rangers history. 2 OHL championships, 1 Memorial Cup, and all of that in just 8 years. He is very much the stuff of legend in this community, and he, along with his partner, Steve Spott, and you got to give credit to the Rangers organization, too, because they had the foresight to say, listen, we need to turn this ship around. Things aren't going the way they should be going in Kitchener. There's this guy in Plymouth, these guys, Pete DeBoer and Steve Spott, who have been having a great deal of success with the Plymouth Whalers. Maybe we should go out and see what it would take to get them to Kitchener. And they did. And they handed the reins of the organization over to Pete DeBoer on the hockey side, head coach, general manager. And the rest, as they say, is history. Pete DeBoer really did turn this franchise around, made it a destination point again for players, and we really haven't looked back since. It has been one hell of a quarter century. So there you go. That's why Pete DeBoer is going to be the first name on the level of legacy tonight at the Memorial Auditorium. Liam is with us on Free Phones Friday. Hello, Liam.
Hello, Mike. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
To be honest, I do feel a little bit grumpy. I haven't been sleeping well lately, but anyways, I'm glad to make it on the call today.
I'm glad to have you on the call today.
The Rangers play today against Saginaw Spirit in an epic game with Pete DeBoer being honored.
It's very well done. Did you practice that all morning?
No, I didn't, but I was going over some clips and stuff because I made a tribute video on social media for the Toronto Blue Jays, and of course I had to include the Yankees lose clip.
Of course you did.
Anyways, I wanted to bring up the poppy thing because before, while I was waiting, someone else brought up that bringing in pins would be a good idea, and I understand that because in my youth, as a kid that grew up in Canada, I always had those memories of being stabbed by the needle and stuff, and I find that Canada pins are like the solution to wear your poppy proud without feeling any pain and stuff, and you can find them online for at least $2, I think.
But Liam, I just want to stop you there because our veterans would prefer we don't use the Canada pin. We keep that black center pin in there. That's important. So the best way to do it is to go to the Legion and get one of those black center pins instead of using those Canada pins. So the poppy still has the black center.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll just go to my local Legion in Guelph or Kitchener.
Yep, that would be the way to do
it. Before you end the call with me, I wanted to bring up Peter DeBoer because he was before my time as a Rangers fan. But, I mean, I've been fortunate to follow him in his journey in the NHL with him making it to the Stanley Cup Finals twice. And my biggest memory is seeing him and Rangers alumni Nick Spaulding make it way all to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2016 with the San Jose Sharks, because I really was hoping that they would win at that time, since Nick Spaulding is actually from Drayton, Ontario, which is very close to Kitchener and close to my hometown of Palmerston. But that's pretty much what I have to say about Pierre DeBoer. He really deserves to be recognized for how much he's accomplished.
All right, Liam, appreciate that call. I remember that 2008 OHL championship winning team with the Kitchener Rangers very well. Nick Spaulding, Matt Halischuk, Justin Azevedo, Mike Duco. The list goes on from there. Robert Bortuzzo was on that team. And they made it all the way to the Memorial Cup. We hosted that year and lost in the final to Spokane. That was the year that when Spokane was handed the Memorial Cup, it broke in their hands. Anyway, Nick Spaulding, give the guy some credit, coaching right now with the Cambridge Redhawks and Todd Bertuzzi, and they are 17-0. Are you kidding me right now? 17 wins, 0 losses to start their GOHL season. Pete DeBoer night at the Memorial Auditorium. If you don't have a ticket yet, you better go check quickly, because we're going to pack that house as Pete DeBoer is put up onto the level of legacy at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Free Phones Friday continues here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
News Radio.
Have you ever heard the phrase, saving the best for last? We did not do that today. Jason wanted to hear Money, Money, Money by ABBA on your All Request Friday Money Songs edition. I mean, you might as well just ask for the Bee Gees or something. Come on with your coming on. I kid because I love Jay. Thanks for the request. Every Friday, we play all requests on the show, and we come up with a theme every week. See if you can fit the theme, and you did a very good job today with the money theme. Greg is with us on Free Phones Friday, the way we close out our week every week. Good afternoon, Greg.
Hey, 38 Greg here.
Farwell's Force member number. Good day, sir.
And I caught my song that you played for me to start the hour.
I tell you what, you are high maintenance, aren't you, Gregory?
Well, you know my job. I'm locked into somewhere until 11:30 minimum.
Uh-huh.
So that's why, why play a song for me if I don't have a hope of hearing it? That's why I just gently say, between 12 and 1 would be preferred.
I get you. And I like to give you a hard time because I know you can take it.
By then I should be, tuning in and catching everything. So, feel free to end every request. Like I'll take the last song of the day. That's fine. That should be for sure safe if anyone's needs to hear theirs earlier. But anyway, so thanks for that. And then I actually didn't even have a question until some of the topics come up. What exactly determines a referendum? Is it just simply when there's enough controversy over a certain issue, and therefore we better get some opinions, or how do they come about sometimes but not others?
You know what? It's a really good question, Greg, and I don't know that there is a set criteria for it, or if there is, what that criteria happens to be.
Who decides when there is one?
The municipal government would.
Municipal government.
So I remember many moons ago, well, not that many actually, but anyway, many years ago for sure, there was a referendum on whether or not fluoride should be added or removed from the water in Waterloo.
Remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was removed, right? Because I think that it has the fluoride in the water, and that was it. They talked about removing it or something. Anyway, so we had a referendum on that way back when, as I recall.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, why that, but why not the Wilmot land, expropriation stuff? That sounds referendum worthy for sure.
Sure, I get you. Yeah, no, it's a very good question. I'll have to look into that a little further and see if there is some sort of criteria for it.
It almost seems like there should be more of them, given the outcries on both sides of some big issues.
Yeah. Yeah, right around that same time we had the referendum on fluoride, we also had the question on the ballot about whether or not Kitchener and Waterloo should discuss an amalgamation. But we watered down the question so much, it was ridiculous by the time it got to the ballot. So,
okay, well, yeah, if you can find out exactly, what can prompt one or what the criteria is before you can get to that, then sure. Let me know. If not, I'll stay tuned.
I'll do my best to figure it out for you.
All right. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Greg. You too. Good to hear from you today. Farwell's Force member number 38. We're over 225 now members of Farwell's Force. If you're not yet a member and you would like to become one, you're welcome to join this ever-growing force for good, force for change, force to be reckoned with. All you have to do is listen for 15 minutes. 15 minutes a day. So it sounds like a bit of medicine. You got to listen to 15 minutes every day. But so not just 15 minutes here, there. No, 15 minutes every day. Don't care what 15 minutes. I'd love it if you listened even more than 15 minutes. But if you put in your 15 minutes a day, we will put you on the list of official Farwell's Force members. Just drop me an email, mike@570news.com, and we'll find a place for you on our list. Just thinking on Greg's referendum question and going back to, fluoride being a referendum and then that question, what it ultimately got watered down to was whether or not Kitchener and Waterloo should even discuss the idea of discussing amalgamation or some such nonsense like that. You know what would be easier is if we just took all of our guidance from this show, because you are notorious for coming up with good ideas. And I use notorious in a good way there. So, for example, we shouldn't just have a referendum question and ask whether or not Kitchener and Waterloo should discuss the idea of amalgamating. We should just amalgamate. How about that? You see, there's the idea for you right here. One level of local government. We do not need 59 part-time politicians in this community. I've got it figured out to a 23-person council, full-time, representative of the entire region, one level of government. Let's go. When it comes to light rail transit, phase 2, I know it's a big nut, Cambridge. I do. $4.5 billion. I know this is going to disrupt all kinds of things when construction begins and the light rail gets there and all of that. But you know what? It is worth it. So let's skip the referendum. We'll just put the Farwell Show stamp of approval on it today, okay? Stamped it. No erases. Let's get some trains into Cambridge. I'm out of here. I'm going to be at the rink tonight. I hope to see you there for Pete DeBoer night at the Memorial Auditorium. If you can't be there, just be right here. Josh Piercy and I have your Harris Law pregame show starting at 6:30. Rangers and Spirit from the Odd tonight on Pete DeBoer night. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.
CKGL AM Kitchener,
a Rogers radio station.
570.